I've already talked about this a few times, but not really in full detail of what I think could happen here. We have the potential of four technically, spin-offs for the Flash. One for Reverse Flash, which I've talked about in a full video. You can go watch that, which I'm sure you already have, but, go watch it. The second one being about Max Mercury, third one being about Avery Ho, and the fourth one about Jess Chambers. The last three, I think, are the least likely to happen, purely because, what would it be on? And how could they do a live-action thing without it kind of copying its W show? If it was a show following Barry, great, but it's a show about, Max or Avery or Jess, I don't know how that would... I think the Jess Chambers show, if it were to ever happen, and this isn't no one's talking about it, by the way. No, there's nothing coming out they're in discussions about a show. This is just me speculating. The only real thing about a spinoff show that was really, talked about was the Reverse Flash spinoff. So, and I haven't heard anything about that since. So, I think it's fair to say there will be no spinoff, but I think it's important to talk about nonetheless. That being said, I do think that if the Flash, in a year from now, happens to continue on some level, what we will be getting, either in comics or Arrow's canon comics, animation, or if it so happens to fall out this way, a live action show, which I don't think would happen, because I think it's fair to say that Grant's open to coming back, so it's not he's if you get a call to come back in live action, he won't, because he will. He's willing to do that. He said that publicly several times. But I do think it's important to point out that I think animation would be so much easier on Grant, just as an actor, to do, since he's already done it twice, right? He's done it twice, or once for Vixen. It'd be easy for him to do. So, you wouldn't need to put that suit on 24/7. You wouldn't need to work really long hours in the suit. And all it really comes down to is getting good artists for animation, and you got a good Flash thing going. You could do a lot more with that. And in that, whether it's comics or animation, you could bring in Avery, Max, and Jess. That being said, I would be more interested in Jess than Max and Avery, because Max is the kind of character, from the little I know about Max in the comics. Okay, so keep that in mind. But the little I know is that Max seems like the kind of Flash to leave when things get rough. On some level. But on other levels, it's he's going to stay there, try to fight, and then when it's done, he will walk, because he doesn't really know what his purpose is as a Flash. And I don't think we need that repeated like it was with Barry as the Flash, Wally as Kid Flash. We don't need that a third time around. So, in my eyes, again, that's what I know about Max. That's obviously going to be different from everyone else that's read the comics. But from the little I know, that's my impression of Max. I don't think we need that again. As for Jess Chambers, who, the person they got to play Jess in 913, it's a definition of, perfect casting. If you look at that photo of her from 913 when that, the coffee starts floating, or even when she's standing out of the car, and you look at a photo of her comic book counterpart, it looks almost exactly like they just ripped that character out of the comics into whoever the hell's playing her. So if they were to do a live action spinoff for The Flash, I would hope it would be about Jess Chambers, if it's not about Reverse Flash or, the kids or Wally or Jay. If there were ever to be a spinoff, all those other characters were not mentioned, I would hope it's about Jess, because Jess Chambers, again, like I said, the person that got to play her was literal perfection in casting. Max was okay casting. Avery, I felt like, was really good casting. It's just like we've seen her already, right? I think we all kind of figure like, okay, she's going to become a speedster at one point because her name's Avery Ho. And she was mentioned 18, and we saw her in 806, and she had a thing for Bart. So I do think that if we get more Avery, again, I brought this up before, but we could see her end up with Bart. Max, I mean, from the one scene we got with him, it seemed like he's like all over the place. He doesn't know his purpose. He doesn't know what he's really doing, but he's intrigued on what's going to happen, which I think could be a good character, but at the same time, you got to be careful not repeating what we've already been through, which, I mean, if it's the Flash rise for season, the last few seasons, in regards to, Team Flash and Barry season 9, we don't need that. Get new writers. Bring Barry back the right way and do it the right way with all these other speedsters. I personally would love it if the Flash spinoff or any version of something related to Flash was being continued, or again, a spinoff. I would prefer it to full-on be animation instead of live action, purely because I love animation stuff. So, I would love to see that. But at the same time, if it can be done live action, great, but the budget would be horrendous, depending on what it's on. I think the animation style has more favoritism to be able to be watched, to be able to be enjoyed, and most importantly, we would be able to hear, Grant, if they brought Barry back. We would be able to do all of that. They could bring Candace back to voice Iris. They could bring Danielle back to voice Caitlin. Or Carlos to voice Cisco. Or, whoever played Avery, Max, and Jess in the 913, they could bring them all back to voice these characters in animation. And the thing is, we've seen Barry in animation before. And animation has grown a lot since then. So they could do a lot with animation if they do it correctly. Throw it on Netflix for season 10, you got something. I think that would genuinely be a thing 5 years down the line from now, and all the cast returns with some new people, for a special Flash animated series, whatever, and it's just some voices. They spend a year on animation. The budget, again, what I know about animation is that it does take a lot of budget, but you wouldn't need to worry about, Grant got COVID and he can't do anything. He could be at home doing the voices. You don't need them in the booth, recording the voices. They can be at home doing the voices. So Carlos, he could do that on an off job if he really wanted to. They could do all of that. There would be no reason for that to not ever be a reality in my eyes. Because if you really think about it, the Arrowverse in animation, which was with Vixen when it first started, I think would be pretty cool to see again. Because we haven't seen Arrowverse animation, again, since Vixen. And I really loved seeing Barry and Oliver in animation. I thought it was really cool. So if we can get that again, great. I think the comics are a great suggestion. I don't think it works necessarily for a full-on season explanation. I know Smallville did work season 11, and I know, it'll probably have Flash season 10 too, but I would rather see animation than comics. We've already gotten Arrow's comics. A lot are not canon. The one that is canon is Earth Prime Comics, and quite frankly, those should only be used to hype up a new season, and there's nothing new coming out for the Arrowverse right now. The Earth Prime Comics was a crossover event of Superman and Lois, Stargirl, The Flash, Legends, Batwoman, and Supergirl. That's what it was. It was a 6-issue crossover event. And in the 5th issue, just The Flash, they teased season 9 with Bloodwork, which is 909. And then in the 6th issue, they showed Al returning in 2049. So they could easily do another comic book series bouncing off Earth Prime, showing what threat Oliver from 2049, that's still the Spectre, is actually talking about, and what he's, that crisis that's going to happen, that's going to be more than anything I've ever faced before. They could explore that in comics, but they could also tie it in animation. And you can get Steven back to voice Oliver. You could get Dave Ranch to voice Dig again. You could bring Tyler Hoechlin back as Superman to voice Superman in the Arrowverse animation. You could do all these things if you do animation. It would be it'd be the cool thing to do. I think it'd actually be the coolest thing to do. Next with, getting a live action Reverse Flash show, which is what I want more than anything. I think it would 100% would be worth it more than, if they do a Reverse Flash show, it better be in live action. They can do animation, but unless they do really good animation, Tom Thawne wouldn't really be. Well, Tom Thawne's kind of animated, isn't he? Really animated, I guess. So I guess that could work. But I would prefer it to be in live action because I love Tom Cavanaugh. It's Thawne. But whatever. Whether or not we'll see Avery, Max, and Jess again in the Arrowverse is beyond me. Because we don't know what's going to happen. I think it's fair to say that Eric Wallace has plans to keep the Arrowverse going. I know he was discussing audiobooks of what season 10 would be like. And he would bring the cast back to do that. Which sounds cool, but just do animation at that point. Don't just do an audiobook. Do legit animation. There you go. Nonetheless, if they do something for the Flash or the Arrowverse, I am here for it. I will follow it. I'm a fan of this universe. I am a fan of the Flash. It is still to this day my favorite show after season 7 and season 9 and season 5. All being kind of train wrecks. I still love and support the show even after it's done. And I will continue to do so because, again, I love this show more than anything. And I'm going to support it. So if they come out with audiobooks, they come out with comics or animation or whatever, I will undoubtedly support it because I'm a fan of this character. I have been for the past 9 years. I guess 7 years, but 7 to 9 years I've been a fan of this character. For a lot that's longer. If they do something, I'm here for it. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. It'd be very interesting to see if they even do anything. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Have a good day. Have a good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you next video. Bye, guys.